Okay, hi everyone. So today I'm going to go through the assignment for PPM assignment 1. So first we'll look at the questions and then I will direct you to the topics and the relevant section in uh, course materials, right? So let's first look at the assignment. So we'll go into FlexLearn. And I want to remind you all that for the assignment 1, you need to follow the guidelines with regards to attaching the assignment declaration form as your cover page and to save your file according to your class code. Okay, I've already given you the guidelines earlier on during tutorial 1. So you can refer back to the guidelines given in Teams. Okay, when you log into Teams, you can see the instruction guidelines for submission of assignment. So make sure you follow all the different steps. And a reminder again, you will be referring to, besides the course materials, most likely information from online sources. So you need to use APA, okay, style of referencing. If you copy and paste and do not actually do the relevant referencing, what will happen is that is considered as plagiarism. So if you plagiarize, then your marks will be affected because you have already submitted the declaration form saying that the work is entirely your own and that you understand if there is plagiarism on your part, there will be a penalty on the marks. Okay. So first, let's look at the assignment. So I share the screen with you. So there are 3 questions altogether. The various questions, first for question 1, this will be from unit 1 itself. Okay, so the different question will be taken from different units. So obviously we haven't covered this topic yet on motivation theory. So later, after we have gone through the functions of management in relation to question 1, then I will go over the motivation theory with you and explain to you how you're supposed to approach that question. So let's look at question 1A. So this is very simple and direct. You're just required to describe all the 4 basic functions of management. Those of you who have attended tutorial 1, I've already gone through unit 1 with you with regards to the 4 functions of management, which are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So now I refer you back to the course material as to where you can actually get this information. Now, the marks allocated for this part of the question is 20 marks. So if you have 4 functions, obviously each function will be allocated 5 marks. So for 5 marks, you're not expected to write, or provide so much information. Probably about half a page the most, okay, is sufficient. So for this particular question, if you were to write half a page for each function, so you'll end up with probably 2 pages the most, maximum. Okay, you should not go beyond that. Even I think about 1.5 pages will also be fine. All right. So I will explain to you what are the essential information you need to include, because there's so much. If you write on one of the functions alone, for example, planning, there's really so much you can write, but you have to only select the relevant and important information, right? So now bear in mind, four functions of management, which are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So now we're going to go to the course material and to show you where you can actually get this information. So go to content. Course content, for those of you who missed tutorial 1, you can refer to this. So if you look under this part here, the concepts of management, can go straight to this part on the concepts of management. And you can see the management functions, okay? So for the management functions, you can just have a very short introduction to just say what are the four, okay, functions of management, which are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. If you like, if you want to include a diagram, you can include a diagram, but it's not really going to earn you any extra marks. It's just a matter of presentation, okay? The presentation of the answer, you know, looks more complete when you have introduction and conclusion, okay? So after that, you can go on to just explain about the four functions. So let's start with planning. So when we talk about planning, you can explain it as a process to develop the company's missions, okay, goals and objectives, and to also formulate the relevant strategies on how to achieve those goals and objectives. All right. So I'll leave it to you to do the explanation. I should not be able, I should not have to actually like give you a kind of model answer, isn't it? So you extract the relevant information. You have to write in essay format. You cannot write, okay, as it is in the notes. As you can see here, these are all bullet, you know, in bullet points. So you cannot write like this. You must write it in essay format, okay, in a paragraph. Of course, this is just a part of it. If you want to follow the information here, you can, but you again need to do the citation. So this is just mainly for your general understanding on the four functions of management. This is for general understanding. If you really want to go into detail, you need to refer to, okay, another set of notes later I will indicate to you, okay, on a more kind of detailed explanation. So the next one you want to write is actually on organizing. So if you look at organizing, what is it relating to? In organizing, it involves deciding on the roles that people play within an organization. So in other words, when you are doing organizing as a manager, you are supposed to allocate duties and responsibilities, okay, to different members of your department, to your employees. So everyone will be given, okay, specific tasks to do in order to help the organization achieve the goals and objectives. That is the purpose, okay? So it is a function of management which involves developing organizational structure. So in order to organize people, obviously you need to have a structure. So if you were to look at any particular department in your organization, you find that there is a structure whereby you have someone in charge, okay, and you have a number of people reporting to the manager. Okay, so you will be able to see different, what we call the hierarchy. You can see who reports to who is in charge of who. Okay, you can see the kind of format in every department and in every organization. So this is what we are referring to as the organization structure. Okay, so after designing the organization structure, you'll find that the people within the department itself all have a very clear role, okay, as very clear idea as to the role they're supposed to play. What are they supposed to do? So everybody has a very clear idea of their function, their responsibilities, their duties, you know, what they need to do. Okay, so that is part of organizing. And with organizing, it also involves dividing the organization into subunits based on functional tasks Example, production, marketing, finance, human resources, etc. Okay, so this is again mainly for your general understanding of what is organizing. Again, I want to emphasize, you do not write like this in PowerPoint format. It has to be essay. All right. So you do the explanation. So if you were to say include information similar to this, I'm not saying you have to write everything exactly the same, as in the notes given here. There are so many sources of information you can refer to. Okay, this is, shall I say, the easy way. But if you really want to get better marks, okay, if you write as it is, okay, using this information here, of course you can pass. Okay, but you're not going to get an A. If you want an A, you have to do more than this. You have to conduct further research, do more reading, and your answer should not be similar to somebody else's. Because if everybody refers to the notes given in FlexLearn, okay, everybody's answer is kind of similar and very, very standard. Okay, so you will just get, average marks. But to get an A, you will have to do more than that. All right. So again, you go on to explain, and then you go on to explain the meaning of leading. Okay, leading involves guiding, coaching your subordinates, your staff, and especially for those who have just joined the company, they will not have much idea as, if they are fresh graduate, they will really not have much idea as to what they are supposed to do. So your role as a manager is to lead them, to guide them, to give them instructions, right? To coach them and to show them the way as to how to get the job done. Of course, depending on the level, the position of the job, you as a manager might not be directly involved. Okay, it could be the supervisor, it could be the section head that might be guiding and coaching. Okay, the fresh graduate or the trainee or the intern. But whoever it is, that person is considered as carrying out management functions, which is leading. Okay, and for the staff who have been there for some time, okay, they already know what to do. So you don't really need to give them instructions as to what are they supposed to do. Okay, how are they supposed to get the job done? They already know because they already experienced. But due to the nature of the job, some jobs might be quite repetitive, quite routine, and it could actually lead to boredom. Okay, so people who are doing the same job day in and day out might actually get a bit bored. So they might not have what we call the job satisfaction. So in that case, your role as a manager is to actually motivate them, okay, to encourage them, to try to influence them, to put in more effort, to be more interested in the job, or to make the job a little bit more interesting through what we call job enrichment, job enlargement. So all this is part of motivation. Okay? And you as a manager will be leading them in this way. So this is one of the many functions of management. Okay, and finally, you have the function of controlling. So after you have given instruction, after you've done the planning, you have to set the goals and objectives and the strategies as to how to achieve those goals and objectives, right? And then you do organizing, you give instruction to your staff, okay, put them in charge, who is supposed to do what. And at the end of the day, they are all supposed to get the job done. But you still need to monitor, you still need to have some idea the progress. Okay, how are they progressing? Are they doing well or not? And then if they make some mistakes, you might want to actually get them to correct it straight away instead of waiting until the end of the year. So all this is part of what we call controlling function. Okay, so under the function of controlling, the whole idea is that you want to make sure that everyone is performing according to what we call the KPIs, right? Performing according to standards. And if they do not perform according to standard, you will need to get them to take corrective action, to do something to correct the mistake, to make sure everything is going on smoothly, right? That eventually the whole idea is to get them to achieve the organizational goals. Okay, so this is the part of controlling. So this is what you're supposed to write for question 1A, which is 20 marks. Now, where else can you get information, more information on this four function? If you look further here, okay, you go down to this unit, if you refer to unit 3, okay, and 4, as you can see, these are all the functions of management. So obviously, if you refer to the notes here, you will have more detailed information as to, number one, what is planning. Okay. Now, there's a whole host of information here, but you're not required to include every single thing. Okay. You essentially need to explain what is the meaning of planning. Okay. You could have a very short paragraph on the benefits of planning, the purpose of planning, but you do not have to go into it in detail. All right. So you are more concerned about the meaning of planning. How is it done? How is it being carried out? You do not really have to explain on the levels of planning because the question did not ask on that. Now, the question is not just on planning alone. Planning is just a part of the four functions of management. So therefore, you do not need to, okay, go into the different levels of planning, right? You do not really need to write about this, or you do not really need to go into the different types of plan. Okay, all this it is actually not required. You are essentially, okay, required to explain on the meaning of planning itself. Now, there should be another set of course material. Let me see. Online course material. Let me see whether you can find it here. Here. Okay. So you have another set of notes here. So you look under about the course, go to online course material. Okay. And you have a more detailed set of notes here, which is something like a book. And again here, if you scroll down, then don't have to read through everything, just look for management functions. Okay, page 8. Go down here. There. So you have this part here, which can also help you in explaining about planning. All right, can you see that? So you can also use this information here, and you will notice that this information, there is also citation. Can you see? This is what you mean by citation. According to Hugh and Shane, because this information is taken from this particular author's book, so therefore you need to do the citation. Okay, so similarly, if you want to use this information, you are supposed to do the citation in this way. So what happens if you don't do citation? Then, of course, you are going to lose some marks. You're not going to fail, but you're going to lose some marks because you are actually just copying information without really understanding it. Now, what is the worst thing, when you copy information? If you look at this part here, it says there are many different types of plans and planning, which we will be discussing in Unit 3. You see, sometimes when students, they just copy, information, copy and paste. They will just copy everything and they will even put this in their answer. So straight away, when I read this, I know that you actually copied, okay, without maybe even understanding the meaning of planning itself. Okay, so this is not going to add value to your answer at all. So you might say that, oh, Miss, why is it that my marks are so low? Okay, I've written half a page on planning. Okay, but it's the quality and the contents that matters. What you actually wrote. Okay, not just because you've written half a page and that is good enough. Okay? So I will read, okay, every single line, okay, of your answer. If I come across something like this where you just copy it directly, okay, I tell you, you are not going to get very good marks, because that tells me, you are telling me, you don't really understand. You're just copying. So who doesn't know how to copy, right? If you know how to use the PC, or the laptop, you know how to copy, right? You just have to go and do Control C and then Control V, and that's it, right? So please don't do that, okay? And if you do that, of course, I will make a comment there. Oh, this is copy and paste work. So after that, explain. So this is what you mean by essay format. Remember just now I showed you the other set of notes where you have in bullet point. But in this is what I want to see in your answer, essay format itself. Okay, whereby you explain that organizing is the function of management that involves developing an organizational structure and allocating human resources, etc., like this. Okay, right? So this is going to help you, obviously, in preparing your answer. So you need to go through. You don't really need to give a table. It's only 20 marks. It's only 5 marks for each. In fact, if you were to write all these, it's already like too long for 5 marks, not to allocate 5 marks. And of course, you know, we don't give full marks. Even if you have that information, we're not going to give you full marks. We're going to give you maybe 4 out of 5, the most. Okay, you're not going to get 5 out of 5, right? So be smart. Give sufficient information to answer the question. Look at the marks allocated to decide the quantity, the amount of information you should provide in your answer, right? So it's not just a matter of, you know, throwing in all the information and then, you know, pray and hope for the best that you will get a good mark. You need to have the understanding of what are the different functions of management. Okay? If you can write in your own words, it is also fine. Okay, if you are able to explain in your own words and maybe give some example based on your experience with your organization, that is fine. I have no problem with that. But I think most students, you know, might not actually have the confidence to do that. Okay? If you are able to do that, that shows me you truly understand the functions of management, and you are able to express it freely in, you know, in your own way with your own words. You can do it, that is very good. And give examples of, you know, all these different functions within your organization itself. Okay, so that settles the first part, question 1A. All right, now question 1B. Question 1B is also relating to the 4 functions of management. The only difference is that it requires you to apply it to the scenario or situation given in question 1B. Right? So now let's look at the question itself. So if we look at the question 1B says that means you are playing the role. You have to assume the role, okay, of the head of your company's marketing department. That means if you are the head of the marketing department, you are the marketing manager. Okay, so imagine if you are the marketing manager and you are required to achieve the sales target of RM 1 million by 31st December 2023. Okay, explain how you can use the 4 basic management functions to achieve the sales target. right? So in this case, you do not just explain about the 4 functions again. You will have to relate to this particular scenario. So you will start off by saying that as the marketing manager, I will need to, you can use first party because it actually asks you to, okay, be the head of the marketing department. So you actually say what you are going to do. Okay, so as a marketing manager, I will carry out the 4 functions of management, which are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Okay, as part of the planning, okay, I will draw up, or you can say a marketing plan will be drawn up. And inside the marketing plan, I will set the goal of achieving sales target of 1 million by December 31st, December 2023. Okay, so that means you are planning to actually set the target. Okay, so after setting that particular target or objective, the next step will be, it is still under planning. You will need to, so you have to explain, okay, various marketing strategies will be developed in order to achieve the sales target of 1 million. Okay. The marketing strategies involved will include carrying out market penetration, okay, and market development. So these are the 2 possible strategies you can actually carry out. Now, what do you mean by market penetration and market development? Market penetration means you will try to increase the sales of your company's products, okay, through example, advertising, by increasing the advertising budget, and through promotion. So that is one way as to how you can actually increase the sales of your company's product. Another thing that you can do is, okay, the market development is to start selling your products, okay, in different parts of Malaysia. So it's up to you to kind of like create, okay, a kind of story to show that you understand the meaning of planning, how you do planning. Okay, so that is for the planning function. After that, you will have to go to the next function, that is organizing. So a practical format that you can adopt for this particular question, this particular part of the question will be perhaps to have headings and subheadings. Okay, so maybe you want to have a heading for planning itself, another heading for organizing, another heading for leading, and then controlling. So now you move on to talk about organizing. How are you going to carry out organizing based on this scenario? So the next thing you have to do will be to set up the structure of the marketing department, to allocate different duties and responsibilities to your sales and marketing staff. Okay, so you will, one possible way is to actually assign different territories to your sales people. So you have, let's say, 5 salesperson. Okay, one salesperson will be in charge of Northern Territory, the northern part of Peninsular Malaysia. Another salesperson will be in charge of Central. The third salesperson will be in charge of East Coast. And then the 4th salesperson will be in charge of, the southern part of Semenanjung, Malaysia. And maybe the 5th, you might have appointed another 2 salesperson because you want to develop the market for East Malaysia, that is Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, so that is the meaning of organizing. Okay, allocating duties and responsibilities to your sales force. All right. Then after that, you go on to talk about leading. How are you going to lead? How are you going to guide? How are you going to show to coach and motivate your staff. So one way of motivating the staff, especially the sales force, will be to give them basic salary plus commission. So if they are able to achieve the sales target of 1 million by end December, okay, 2023, they might actually get, commission, or they can get incentive trade for achieving the target. So this is what you mean by leading, where you motivate your staff to achieve the sales target itself. Okay, after that, you've already explained about leading, you go on to the final part, that is controlling. So under controlling, you will need to monitor the performance of your salespeople. And normally for your company, how does the management actually monitor your performance? By setting KPIs, isn't it? By setting, okay, key performance indicators, and to ensure that people within the organization is able to fulfill those standards that have been set. Okay. And if, for example, you find that at the end of the year, you are not able to achieve the sales target of 1 million, you will need to find out or carry out what we call corrective action to find out what went wrong. Okay, so then you say, oh, how do we actually know that we didn't achieve the target? You look at the sales figure itself, right? You look at the market share. So at the end of the year, you look at your market share, has it increased? You look at your annual sales, and whether it achieved the 1 billion targeted amount. If you did not achieve this sales target of 1 million, that means you have fallen short, right? And you will, of course, need to do something. If you manage to achieve the 1 million, then fine and good. You don't really need to carry out corrective action for the following year. Okay, and you could maintain the same strategies which you use, okay, for this year, for next year. If you did not achieve your sales target, you will most likely, number one, first, to find out what actually went wrong, what was the problem. Is it the quality of the product? Is it because your price is too high? Is it because you didn't do enough advertising and promotion to create more awareness in the market regarding your company's product? Okay, so the first thing you need to do is to actually get information as to reason why you fail to achieve the sales target. After that, you will then decide on what corrective action to take. So if based on your research, okay, let's say you do a survey and you go out and ask the target market, and you find out that the reason why, okay, they did not buy so much of your company's product is because the price is too high. So in your corrective action part, you will need to take corrective action of making some adjustment to the price itself, and so that in your future plan for 2024, you hope that you will be able to achieve the sales target. So that is the last part of what we mean by controlling. All right. So this is an application question. You got to make sure that you constantly refer to the scenario given. You cannot just keep on writing about just the 4 functions and explaining what it is all about. You must refer to this scenario. You cannot give any other example of your own. Okay, you cannot copy example from whatever sources, online source or whatever, or textbook or other course material whereby they have examples. You cannot use the examples from there because those examples are not relating to this scenario here that has been given to you. So you are playing the role of the marketing manager. You have to say, how are you going to carry out the 4 functions of management? Right? So what if, let's say, you did not relate to this scenario? you're going to lose marks. Simple as that. Okay, you did not relate to this scenario, I think your marks will be, you will probably just pass. Because very important, whenever you answer the question, you have to relate. You have to answer the question. So if you do not relate to the scenario, you are not answering the question. Okay, so if you don't do that, if you don't relate to that scenario given, you will just pass. Okay, you're not going to get a B. You just get a D. That is actually being lenient to you. By right, if you don't answer the question, you fail. Okay, so please, I'm already telling you, okay, make sure you relate to the scenario. And if you don't, okay, don't expect, okay, don't have high expectation on the marks. Some of you might actually say, oh, miss, I just want to pass on you. If you're happy just to pass, okay. And don't forget, this assignment contributes 50% of your coursework marks. So it's having a lot, okay, of the final, contributing a lot to your final marks. And you should aim and target to do well for your assignment. Because for the online quiz one, you have 2 marks. One is from Coursera, one is from Flexlearn. Flexlearn one, I think is quite okay. The Coursera one is not that easy. And for Coursera part, you have to get 80% to pass. Okay? So you, unless you really, did your homework, read through everything, and you score in Coursera, you also score very good marks in Flexlearn itself, for the 2 parts of the quiz. Okay, but whatever it is, that is only 20% of the total marks. Okay? The assignment still carries a higher weightage. Okay? So you need to realize the importance of doing well for the assignment. Understand? Okay. Now let's look at the second question. In question 2, you are the head of a department. It didn't say what department, so you can assume if you have 50 staff, most likely it should be production department or operations department. Not likely that, HR department will have 50 staff, right? Or even marketing department, not likely it will have, 50 staff. Salespeople also won't be that many. So most likely you can safely assume that you are the production manager. You have 50 staff reporting to you because you have operators, production operators, you have supervisors, you have technicians, you have engineers, right? So it can come up to 50 staff. Or you could be, so it says that you are head of the department. It didn't say you are head of an organization. If you said you are head of a company, you are head of an organization, then fine. You could be, it could be an SME. But in this case, it is department. So we think about, okay, what department? Most likely it is production department, okay, or operations. So you have 50 staff, and this staff, some of them are actually junior staff, some of them are senior staff. So you have a combination. Okay, that means there are those who have worked there for quite some time. There are those who are, just joined the company or been there only for a few years. So these are the more junior staff, right? Explain how you can use your knowledge of Maslow hierarchy of needs. So you need to use this particular theory, Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. How you're going to apply this to motivate your staff. Okay, so you cannot do this question if you don't understand about Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. Okay, so first we need to understand about Maslow's theory and then explain for each level how are you going to motivate your staff, bearing in mind you have junior and senior staff. The way you motivate your junior staff and your senior staff will be different because the junior staff normally are more concerned about basic pay, right, the compensation itself, and all the benefits that comes along with the job. But for the senior staff, they are more concerned about career development, job satisfaction, okay, promotion. See, so you need to explain how you're going to motivate both the junior staff, give examples, and how you're going to motivate the senior staff, give examples. Okay, so now we're going to look at the Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. So you go back to the course notes. Go to the, it should be under leading. So all this is, we collapse it. So we go to leading. Let's look for the one motivating people at work. Can you see this? Okay, 4.3, take note, 4.3. Okay, motivating people at work. You do not have to explain what is motivation or that, no need. Okay, don't waste time with that because you have a lot of things to write for to apply the theory itself. So don't bother with all this definition. You don't need to define motivation. Okay, don't need to talk about all the theories. You are only concerned with this theory, Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. Okay, you should draw a diagram, but whenever you draw a diagram, you must always indicate and label the diagram like this. Then you must always put the source. But I just want to highlight to you, do not take anything from Wikipedia, although you hear in the course note itself, okay, because you're not writing an assignment here, you're just writing, taking information for the notes. Okay, but when you write your answer, you should not take anything from Wikipedia because Wikipedia is not an academic source. Okay, so we don't want to take anything from Wikipedia. When you go and anytime you go and Google search, you can get a diagram on Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. Okay, you just have to type there Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. You will have many, many sources. So you don't need to, if you take this one, then you have to put this source. But like I say, this source is not recognized as academic source, so you don't want to use this. Okay, you have to take it from somewhere else. So you start off by explaining what is Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. You can go and refer to this particular video in YouTube, because sometimes it's easier to just listen to an explanation than to actually read through, isn't it? Okay, so in this case, it doesn't really explain a lot, but you can go to look at the PDF course material. Remember just now I showed you the online course material. So you can refer to that. Okay, you don't need to explain on all these other theory, please. Okay, so remember only Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. Don't waste time with all the other theory. You're not going to get one single mark, not even half a mark, by writing all this. So don't waste time. Right? So now go back to online course material. Let me just collapse this. Okay, so go to this. Just now was under 4, is it? So go to unit 4. Okay. Then go and straight away look for the topic on motivation. Don't have to, it's very easy. Just go to this part here. Theories of motivation, page 39. Go to the page itself. Okay, so you have this diagram here. Again, this is Wikipedia, so don't take from this source, okay? Take from somewhere else. So you have Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. Okay, so let me go through the theory. Let's just expand. So there are 2 ways to approach this question in your answer. One is to briefly explain about Maslow hierarchy of needs theory. That means one short paragraph. Or another way to do it is to explain each level. So you can see here there are 5 levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when you explain about this model, you must start at the bottom. Okay, this is level 1. This is the first level. Okay, and according to Maslow, he says that, okay, human beings have many different levels of needs. And according to him, this is his theory. There are 5 levels altogether. Okay, and the most basic level is what we call physiological needs. So Maslow says that as human beings, we need to satisfy different levels of needs. The first level we will need to satisfy will be physiological needs. Now, what do you mean by physiological needs? Physiological needs are those needs, things you need in order to survive, in order to, go on from day to day. You will need what? In order to live, you will need food, water, shelter, all these things, isn't it? Right? Can anyone say that they don't need food, they don't need water, they don't need sleep, they don't need shelter? Right? How you want to survive, man? See, so these are basic needs. Our part of our body functions, you can say. Okay, so he says that all of us need to fulfill this basic level of need, and this is the first level. Okay? And how does this relate? How does this relate to motivation? So in other words, imagine when you first started work, when you got your first job, what were you concerned about? You were mainly concerned about the salary. Why? Because you need the income in order to cover all your expenses, right? You need the salary in order to buy food, in order to pay for rental, in order to pay your car installment, installment for your house, etc., etc. You haven't bought a house yet, but you still need money, right, to cover your expenses, your daily expenses to and from work, for your family members, or even if you're not married, you're single, you still need to have, okay, a minimum amount of income to allow you to survive. Like a lot of people, they're not from, let's say, for example, they're not in the big cities. So they're from the, smaller towns, or villages or kampong, and they move to the biggest towns and cities in order to cari makan, right? In order to earn a living. So therefore, the salary itself will pay for all these basic expenses. So in order to motivate, if you are the manager, okay, how are you going to motivate your staff? Having knowledge, having this knowledge about Maslow hierarchy of needs theory, that people are concerned with fulfilling basic needs. You got to ensure that your company, okay, actually provides, okay, a fair compensation, right? A fair kind of package, a fair salary, enough for the employees to survive, to cover all these expenses. Okay, so therefore, you are applying, having this knowledge of Maslow hierarchy of needs. Okay, you will ensure, as manager, you should ensure that, for example, your staff are paid, okay, adequately. Right? Maybe your company is medium-sized company. It might not pay as much as the MNCs, but you need to ensure that the salary that is paid to your employees meets with, okay, the basic labor market, what we call not just minimum wage, meets with the rates offered in the market. Because if you don't, what's going to happen? People will leave, right? The employees will leave. They will leave for something better, that's for sure. And this is especially relevant to the junior staff. Okay, those entry-level staff. those who are not so qualified, operators especially. Fulfilling their basic needs, that means offering them a competitive salary, okay, enough to cover for all their expenses and maybe at least something left as part of their savings is very important. Okay, so therefore the management, as a manager, you need to kind of like ensure, of course you are, no, you are not HR, but you need to kind of work with HR, okay, and be aware of what is the market rate for production operators, for technicians, for supervisors, and ensure that, okay, they are paid the fair salary to enable them to cover all their physiological needs. So this is what you mean by how you relate this theory to motivate your staff. So this is mainly for the junior staff and the lower level, those who are at the lower level who are not so skilled, not so highly, qualified staff. Okay, and the second level is talking about safety needs. So once this level of needs has been satisfied, so once people are comfortable with their pay, the next thing they are concerned about, okay, the next need they want to satisfy or fulfill will be the next level. So now we go to the next level, which is the safety or security needs. Okay, so when a person works in a company, they want to feel safe. Okay, they want to have a safe environment. Besides that, they also want to feel secure. They want to know that the company they're working for is going to be around for the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, right? And that's the reason why people want to work for bigger companies or more mature companies, right? The more well-known companies, because they have been around for a longer period of time. If it was a new company you've never heard of before, okay, you might be a bit hesitant, in wanting to apply for a job in that company because I've never heard of this company before, you don't know anything about this company. If it's a totally new company, you are a bit cautious, you see. So people have this need for security. They want to feel safe. They want to ensure that their future with this company is there. Okay? So how do you make sure, as a manager, how do you apply this knowledge to motivate your staff? So that's the reason why companies offer all these benefits, right? All kinds of benefits, example, providing hospitalization, medical, insurance, okay. Some companies offer stock option, what we call resource, employee share option scheme. Okay, so this provides a sense of security for the employees because they know that, oh, should I fall sick, should I not be able to work, the company will cover for all my expenses. So they feel safe, they feel secure, right? And having this knowledge, you need to ensure that your staff have all these benefits, to make them, to kind of reassure them that this company is here to stay. This company is the right company for them, and we want to stay. Because the minute people feel insecure about their jobs, the next thing that they are most likely to do is to look for another job. Okay, right? It's natural. This is human nature. If you hear some rumor about the company, right, you feel a bit insecure, and then you will start to look for other options. You start to look for interviews, right? So people, okay. So again, both for the junior staff and the senior staff, they also want to have a sense of security. Okay, so this applies for both junior and senior employees. Now, the next level of needs is what we call the love and belongingness needs or affiliation needs. When you work for a company, it's like you spend so many hours at work. So it's something like your second home. And you connect with the people okay, at your workplace. Okay, they are like your extended family. And even sometimes during the weekends, you might actually arrange to meet with your colleagues, okay, to spend some, you know, time together, whether for outing, okay, whether for lunch or dinner, okay, or go for some, carry out some local activities, you are kind of engaged with the people you're working with. So therefore, being happy, okay, being able to get along with the people working with you in your department and in your organization is very important. So as a manager, how do you ensure that people are happy? So one of the things, so of course, this is not as easy as, we say or explain it in theory. Okay? In ideal situation, the manager should try to find what we call a person job fit. That means try to fit the person to the job. Because if you fit the person to the job that he likes or he's interested in, okay, he gets job satisfaction. And also you need to have something else, what we call the person organization fit. Whether you are able to fit the person to the right department, okay, and therefore be able to work along with the people in that department. So like I mentioned, this is easier said than done. Because when that person, applies for the job, they don't really know, right, who they're going to work with. It's only when they get the job and then they start working, right? So that's the reason why the company need to perhaps organize certain activities. I'm sure in your organization, you have what we call the team building activities, right? Okay, whereby the company organize these activities in order to get the employees to bond with each other. And normally after those team building activities, I don't know, okay, from my experience, with team building activities previously when I was working in industry and in colleges, I find that it is actually quite, effective because you get to know people from other departments whom you have never have the chance to interact with that much, okay, at the workplace. Most of the time, you just kind of like, oh no, this person from whatever department, and then maybe you do kind of chat, through email, and then you do kind of interact by, sending documents, etc. But on a personal level, okay, and social level, you don't really interact. So during these team building activities, you actually get to know people from different departments. And after you get to know them, the next time when you need to get certain jobs done, when you need to interact, you kind of feel closer to them because it's as if you already know them, right? So understanding about people's need for affiliation or belongingness will allow you as a manager to work with HR to come up with certain team building activities in order to get people to interact with each other. And then they will feel a sense of belongingness, that they are part of, part of the, company, part of that family itself, the organization family. And organizing, and then why do companies actually have all this orientation? Orientation is a form of socialization process, to get people to socialize and get to know each other. So all this is also part of, okay, affiliation needs, our need to have interaction, our need to be accepted by people, right? So this is important. Again, this is important for both junior and senior level staff. Okay. And then the next level, the fourth level, esteem needs. Esteem needs are what we call the ego needs. All of us have esteem needs, ego needs. Okay, whereby we need to feel a sense of importance. We need to feel that our job is important, our presence is important in the company. Okay, and we want to be appreciated, especially if you've done a good job. Okay, you managed to, have some achievement, you have managed to achieve certain success. Okay, in your work, you want the recognition, and you will want the management to show appreciation, show recognition for your efforts. And so as the manager, it is important that, and this is especially important for senior staff because they have been around for quite some time, right? They want to feel appreciated. Okay, so one way to actually show appreciation and recognition is, of course, through promotion. But of course, you can't promote everyone. So what do? Companies will have things like, you know, uh, long service award, okay, voting of employee of the month, this type of things in order to show appreciation to the staff or show recognition. Okay, so this is especially important for the senior level staff because they have been around for so long. Okay, they want the recognition. They want management to recognize their efforts. All right, so you explain about this. Then the next thing after that, the final one, self-actualization. Now, this self-actualization is not important for everyone. As far as the lower level staff, they're not really concerned or interested on this. Okay, this will be more for executive level and perhaps management level staff, whereby they want to prove, okay, that they are able to achieve or maximize their potential. And perhaps that's the reason why some of you want to pursue your degree. Although you are already a manager, why do you still need the degree? Okay. And some of you say, oh, I need the degree because, I'm for better prospects, for promotion. Okay. And sometimes people do certain things to achieve things which are not very, relevant, to do certain things which are perhaps not directly relevant to the job, but they still want to do it. Why? Because they want to prove that they are able to accomplish something new, something challenging. Okay, and especially true for those people, those professionals who are pursuing their masters. Okay, I have MBA students, they are all very senior, in very senior positions already. Now, some of them are directors, engineering director, even CEO, but they still want to do the MBA. Why? I ask them, even if you get your MBA, you're, you're not going to be promoted higher than director level already, isn't it? If you're already a CEO, you're not going beyond that. But they say it's for my own satisfaction. It's for me to prove to myself that, I'm capable. I'm able to do it. And it's always been my dream. Okay, they will tell me, it's always been my dream to do my master's. You see, so this is the meaning of self-actualization. So that's why I say this will not apply to the lower level staff, to junior staff, because the junior level staff are more concerned with the first 4 levels rather than the last level. When I say first 4, I'm referring to from the bottom up, So this is the highest level. So this might not actually be important for everyone. Okay, normally more for the senior level staff. They are concerned about this. Okay, they want to prove to themselves, okay, more to themselves than to others. Okay, it's for their own personal satisfaction. That's why it's called self-actualization. Okay, they believe they are capable of doing it. They want to maximize their potential. Okay, and also they want to feel good. They feel good about themselves and that they are able to achieve something new and challenging. Understand? Now, I understand it's not as simple and easy, how I explain it, and okay, I go through it within like 15 minutes. And then, but when you write, you have to really think about it, okay, and explain in your own words. You can make use of your own experience, okay, in your company. If you are really actually a manager, you can actually explain in your own way how you actually motivate your staff. Okay, but you need to follow the guidelines of this theory. You need to relate to these 5 different levels. Okay, and you need to include in your answer which particular level of need is more important for the junior staff and the senior level staff. So these 2 things you must remember. Relate to the scenario of you being the manager in charge of 50 staff, some of them junior, some of them senior level staff. And when you explain this theory, every single level, you have to connect it with whether it is junior or senior level staff. All right. If you just write the theory and you don't give any example, you don't relate, I'm not sure whether you pass this particular question or not. Okay. You're not going to pass just by explaining about the theory, because the question is not asking you to explain on the theory. It's asking you to relate to the scenario given of you playing the role of a manager in charge of 50 staff members. Understand? Are you clear? All right. So going back. Going back to the question. Going back to the question. Okay. 30 marks. So since you have 5 levels, explanation on each level, explain how you can use your knowledge of Maslow hierarchy of needs theory to motivate your staff. Okay, so your explanation together with the examples, okay, each level will be 6 marks because there are 5 levels. All right, so 6 marks. So again, 1 paragraph for each. Okay. Explain clearly for each level, what you need to do in order to motivate, like I explained to you just now, talking about commission, incentive trips, motivate, right, the staff, and providing security needs. You need to provide insurance, okay. All the benefits provided by the company is to make the staff feel that they are working for a company that's very stable, secure, that allows them to purchase, stocks, etc. of the company. So that gives a sense of security, right? So relate to junior, senior level staff. 5 levels, 6 marks for each level. That's it, complete. If certain levels you are explaining in more detail, and then maybe certain level you're not so good in explaining, then of course, this for each level 6 marks, so you adjust according to what you actually write. Adjust according to the quality and content of your answer. All right. So we move on to question 3. Question 3 is looking at 3 different scenarios. Now you have 3 different scenarios relating to control function. And you have to explain which type of control can be applied for each scenario. Okay, and explain with reason. Justification means provide reasons for your answer. Okay, so let's go through the scenario, and then after that we go and look at the types of control in order to determine and decide which particular type of control is relevant to which scenario. So scenario 1, you are the chief engineer, or you can assume that you are the chief engineer, or just in general, the chief engineer schedules repair and service of all the machinery and equipment in the production line every 2 months. So every 2 months, there will be a schedule whereby the machine, whether they break down or don't break down, there will be maintenance. I guess those of you in the technical field or production department, you know, you have something like this, isn't it? This is not something that's created. This is something that actually happens. Okay. And second scenario is patients in the ICU. ICU is intensive care unit. That means normally after operation, you know, after serious, you know, sometimes, you know, you have people who are in an accident, you know, and they are in critical conditions. So therefore, they will put into the ICU ward, whereby their progress, you can say, will be monitored 24 hours, 24/7, closely by the staff, by the nurses, to make sure that that person survives, put it this way. Okay, so patients in the ICU ward in hospitals are monitored round the clock by the nurses. So that means you're monitoring the progress of something. Okay. Scenario 3. Following reports of malfunctioning airbags in certain Honda cars. So this happened a few years back, isn't it? I think before the pandemic itself. Okay, this actually happened. This was a real incident. Not only Honda cars, Toyota cars as well. Okay, and many other brands. Okay, whereby the companies actually recall the cars and they actually put in the newspaper, okay, if you own, you know, on Honda or Toyota, Vios model, you know, or Honda Civic model of what year, etc. They tell you all the different years. Please bring your car back to the Honda service center. We will need to replace the airbag for you because they found a certain fault, a certain problem with the airbags. Okay, because this happened when there was some kind of accident, right? I think it was in the Glenberry somewhere, I can't remember, but it was something like this, right? Whereby somebody was met in an accident, and what happened was that when you, upon impact, the airbag will deploy. That means the airbag will actually come out and kind of like pushing the effect of the accident. So besides the airbag being deployed, okay, there are two types of malfunction. One is where the airbag doesn't deploy. That means the airbag doesn't actually come up. So the person, of course, will die on impact. The other case is whereby the airbag is deployed, the airbag actually comes out upon impact. But problem is that the chute, you know, that holds the chute, you know, at the steering wheel there, for example, that part where upon impact, some parts of the chute, the metal parts actually also came out and actually hurt the driver, okay, the metal parts. So what happens now? If something happens, you know, if something like that occurs, the person might not actually die because of the accident, but die because of the metal parts, you know, okay, flying into his or her body. Okay, so of course this is very, very serious. So all the Honda cars and Toyota cars, you know, Honda and Toyota have to recall. Okay, so there were some incidents like these, accidents like these, you know, things that happen. So they, of course, this was due to, of course, it's not really Honda's fault or Toyota's fault, because they actually, the airbags is actually from another company from Takata, Japan. Okay, so of course, Honda has to bear the losses of recalling the cars, and of course, they are going to seek compensation from the supplier of the airbags. Okay, so this was a serious kind of incident that happened during that time. Okay, so in this case, this kind of control, that means you have to do something. You cannot say, never mind, it's okay, you know. That means you wait for something to happen. You wait for something to happen. Then only you take corrective action. You wait for only when something happens, only when something goes wrong, do you do something to correct the situation. Okay, like in your company, okay, when customers complain, then only you look into the complaint. So this is the same kind of scenario. Okay, and this type of control is what we call feedback control. Only after you receive feedback, you try to control the problem. Okay, which is of course not that great, because okay, if customers don't complain, you don't do anything. But the problem is there. But you didn't bother to do anything until such time when something happens, something bad happens, then only you do something. So this type of control is not as good as the other two types. The other two types of control is called feed-forward or preventive control. And the second one is called concurrent control. Okay, so now let's go back and look at the notes, course materials on control, and I'll explain to you all the different types of control. So we go to control, okay. Types of control, type control. So you can see here there are three types. So just now you have three scenarios, isn't it? So you have to fit these three types of control and say, scenario one is what type of control? Scenario two is what type of control? Scenario three is what type of control? So first, you need to understand the different types of control. First type of control is feed-forward control. Feed-forward control is what we call preventive control. For example, if you don't want to fall sick, right? You don't want to get COVID, what do? You wear masks, right? You sanitize, okay, as much as possible. So that is called preventive control. You don't want to get sick, we take supplements, take vitamin C, we take multivitamins, you know, okay. We take care of our health, we do exercise, you know, we go for walk, we go jogging, we go to the gym. Why? Because you want to stay healthy so that you don't fall sick, right? So this type of control is feed-forward control or preventive control. That means you do something to avoid a future problem. Understand? So it is preventive control. Feed-forward is the control mechanism that allows managers to anticipate problems, okay, before they arise. As a result, managers need to keep a close watch in order to identify problems and take corrective action. Okay. So the second type of control, now we look at the second type. This type of control is also known as real-time control. Okay. Real-time control is you control while something is in progress, while something is happening, something is taking place, you control. Right? Example, quality control. Okay, while the machine is running, okay, you take samples, okay, to test, to see the quality, whether it fulfills the requirements of the customer. And then when you take a sample and you test and find that it doesn't, you know, meet with the specification of your customer, you straight away try to do the adjustment. You straight away try to make some adjustment before the whole process is complete. So that is called concurrent control. That means you are constantly monitoring. You are keeping an eye on what is going on. And that's the reason why you have supervisors, right? Supervisors will come and check, or QC inspectors. They will check, they will keep on checking to make sure that everything is going well, everything is, you know, functioning properly, no problems. Okay, so that the eventual product that comes out meets with the specification of the customer. So that is called concurrent. While the process is carrying on, while it is happening. Okay, so known as real-time control, focusing on the present rather than the future. It involves regulating of ongoing activities that is a part of transformation process to ensure they conform, this word is conform, to the organizational standard. Okay, so that's concurrent control. Then finally, I explained to you just now, feedback control is after when something has happened. After something goes wrong, there are complaints, that means you get feedback, then only they do something. Okay. If they don't get the feedback, okay, the management is not aware of what actually happened. And of course, since they're not aware, they won't do anything. So this is what we call reactive control. React to a situation. When something happens, they react. If nothing happens, they don't do anything. So this is reactive. Feed-forward control is proactive. You don't want something bad to happen. You carry out all the measures to prevent. That means you're proactive. Okay, instead of reactive. In proactive control, you think ahead. You think ahead of time. Okay. Feedback control, you only think of doing something after it happens. Oh, after something happened, then, okay lah, next time I won't do this, I won't do that. But if you had thought of it earlier on and try to prevent it from happening, then it might not happen. And that's the reason why we lock our doors. Why do we have security alarm? Because we are trying to do feed-forward control. We don't want our house to be burglarized. We don't want the thief to come in and steal our things. So that's why we have locks and things like that. Okay? So if you don't have any locks on your door, okay, but of course, I think in Malaysia, we are very, very conscious about safety or security. We have all this drill. That's why we are doing feed-forward control with preventive, Okay, we don't wait for somebody to burglarize our house, then only we go and put the grill, go and put a lock for our house, right? Okay, but you see in Western country, they don't have grills, and right? You go to Western country, you see the houses, they don't even have a gate, They don't even have the fencing. You see? Then, some people might say, is it safer over there than here? Okay, not really. Their houses still get burglarized. Right? But it's just the society is such that, they don't think that certain things might happen. So they think it is safe. Of course, maybe their doors are very, very, very sturdy, very strong type of doors. But then the back doors are not. Normally, back doors have some kind of glass. Okay, so these are the different types of control. So now we go back and look at the question. Go back and look at the question. Okay, so if you look at the question, the types of control. So what is this? Chief engineer schedules repair and service of all machinery needed in production line every 2 months. So this is what we call preventive. You don't want something to go wrong. You don't want the machine and equipment to break down. So you're doing servicing, just like you go and service your car. You drive your car, how many km, they ask you, oh, bring back your car. That is feed-forward control. That means you're trying to prevent something bad from happening. Because you don't want your machine to break down, you carry out the maintenance to prevent. So the first feed-forward control is for scenario 1. So you need to explain, like how I explained to you, why they schedule repair and service every 2 months, because they want to avoid a situation where the machinery and equipment will break down. Because if they don't do this maintenance, in case the machinery breaks down, then there will be downtime, there will be delay in delivering of the finished goods to the customer, then they have to compensate the customer if they delay the delivery, you see. So you are trying to prevent the consequences of machinery breaking down, the problems that breaking down of the machinery will cause. You don't want that thing to happen. You carry out the maintenance regularly. Now, why you go for checkup? Okay. But I know like dental checkup, we are not so, I think most of us are not so diligent on dental checkup. Medical checkup probably more, okay? More of us will do it because we want to make sure you don't have any major type of health problems, okay? But dental, I think most of us are, very few of us maybe is that, rushing to go every 6 months for dental checkup, right? Somehow the thought of going to the dentist, we always have this fear at the back of our mind, and that going to the dentist, like having to refilling, etc., or whatever you need to do to your teeth, is kind of frightening, right? But if you actually do it, if you are, shall I say, logical enough, and realize that the importance, of doing it, you will do it. So that is straightforward, because you want to prevent anything going wrong with your teeth, decay, etc. Okay, which might lead to more serious problem. So you do it, right? So that is preventive. Preventive or feed-forward control. But you must write the word feed-forward control there. You cannot just say, oh, this is preventive. Right? Yes, it is preventive, but the actual term is, the type of control is feed-forward. So just remember, the first one, feed-forward, is for scenario 1. The second one, concurrent control. You control while something is in progress, while something is happening. So therefore, patients in the ICU, they are not well. So the nurses monitor their progress, take their temperature, look at their heartbeat, have all the machine, all the taps and wires attached to the body, to monitor their condition. So that means while it is happening, right, while the patient is there recovering, you are monitoring the progress. And if something should go wrong, the pulse rate goes down, pressure goes up, the doctor, they will immediately call the doctor to try to resuscitate the patient, to try to, you can say rescue the patient, or to make sure that, the patient is still alive. So this is concurrent control. And finally, for the feedback control, feedback is after something has happened. Okay, so feedback control is for scenario 3, only when they have malfunctioning of the airbags, did Toyota, Honda actually recall, because they do not want any lawsuits, customers suing them, for the malfunction of the airbags. So they have to respond. They cannot say, oh, we can't do anything. So when incidents like that happen, they have to respond. They have to respond to this, what we call a crisis, isn't it? A crisis, a major crisis, something very serious. So they have to respond. Okay. Seldom do companies not respond to feedback. If you respond, let's say, for example, you are students of Wallasan. If you're not happy about certain things, right, you complain, is it? You provide feedback, right? You tell the management, or you tell the regional office. So what do they do? They have to take some action, right? Because it's based on your complaints, based on your feedback. So this type of control is called feedback control. So same thing applies here. When there's reports, when you have reports of malfunctioning airbags, Honda will need to control the situation, okay, and recall all the Honda cars, made during a certain period where they say that, oh, the faulty model were this model, Civic, what year. So they have to recall. Maybe some of them are okay, not to say every single one will malfunction, but just in case, they can't take the chance. They have to recall all. They cannot say recall certain models, don't recall other models. They have to recall all. Right? So this is called feedback control. Okay, so just remember, you have 3 types of control when you look at the notes. The first one is for scenario 1. The second one is for scenario 2. The last one, feedback, is for scenario 3. Okay, you cannot just write for scenario 1. You just write, oh, it is feedback, feed-forward control. Full stop. That's it. You have to explain. Okay, because it's 30 marks, and it's 10 marks for each one. So first, you must state what type of control is it. Setting feed-forward control, you will get a few marks for stating it alone. So stating it alone, you will get like 3 marks. Then after that, you explain what is it. And when you connect it to the scenario, you explain according to the scenario. Don't give other examples. Don't give other examples like how I'm giving you other examples as well, just to make you understand, right? Don't give other examples about student complaining, that. No, you must, I'm just giving you the examples to help you understand. You must connect it back to the information given here regarding the scenarios mentioned here. All right, so you have to do that. So you're able to do that, then you will get good marks to answer this question. All right. So do the reading. I know there's quite a bit of work for you to do. You still have time. Okay, you can allocate like 1 week, you do one question. So in 3 weeks time, you will finish everything, right? You have more than 3 weeks to do all these things here. Okay, so do everything accordingly and it should be okay. It should be okay for you. The main thing to remember is that I want you to remember is, okay, don't forget, I want to remind you again that you have to, I will take you back to your first page. Okay, here I already given you information here that the declaration form, this is the cover page, right? Cover page. And I also posted in WhatsApp group the guidelines on the assignment itself. Okay, let me just see the other group, then maybe I can also post it here. Okay, so I'll post it here on the guidelines. Okay. Go on here. So I will wait. I will post it here as well. So just to remind you. Stop sharing first. I will post it and then minute now. I've already posted in WhatsApp group. But I know sometimes students will overlook, might not have actually seen it. Later they will tell me that you didn't see it. Okay. You're not sure what you're supposed to do. Okay. So I don't want anyone to miss out on the information. So I want you to make sure you do the correct thing, put it this way. Right? Hold on. I think I posted it in WhatsApp. Just let me counter check. Okay, just let me give me a minute. Let me just do the other group. So wait a minute. So post it in the chat on the first page. I also post it in the chat. Okay, I post it in the chat as well. So if you're 3C, if you M3, 3C, you put 3C. If you are from the 5C group, you put 5C instead of 3C, right? So I put it here in the chat, so you can see here in the chat as well. And then there is also what we refer to, talk about APA citation. Okay. I know I have mentioned to you before, but I still find that some students didn't actually do it. So just make sure you actually, follow the citation guide. Okay. And just provide you with the citations. Okay, I put on the front page as well, the citation guide. Citation guide. Oh, sorry. Okay, so you go. So that's all I want to give you the information from. So I hope that the explanation is clear. In case you still have some doubts with regards to how to approach the question, you can always post in WhatsApp group. All right. So all the best to you for your assignment. If you should need to apply for, I think there's no allowance for extension, sorry, because there's only one assignment, so you can't really apply for extension. All right. So you have to meet the deadline itself. So now the things you need to do, okay, is to do the online quiz, right? Do the online quiz first, both in FlexLearn and also in Coursera, 10%, 10% each. All right. So go ahead and do that. Okay. All right then. So hope everything is clear and it should provide you with sufficient information to do your assignment. So all the best then. All right.